Ever think the 1960s were all flower power, peace signs, and family movies? Think again. Behind the tie-dye and lava lamps, another revolution was unfolding in the movie theaters. Directors tossed out the rulebook and brought audiences films that made even grown-ups blush. Some shocked viewers, others just left everyone grinning. But every one of these movies pushed the limits of what was decent. So what were these wild films that made censors sweat and moviegoers come back for more? Get ready to rethink everything you thought you knew about the so-called innocent 60s. Promises, 1963. The 1960s didn't just see the British invasion and space travel. Hollywood was busy breaking its own taboos. If you want to talk about a movie that truly set the bar for daring, look no further than Promises. Picture this. Jane Mansfield, the era's platinum blonde sensation, struts onto a cruise ship with the world at her feet and an eyebrow-raising script in hand. This wasn't just another comedy about misadventures at sea. This film was so bold, it sent studio execs scrambling and made headlines for months. The story? Two women on a cruise, both facing the shock of discovering they're expecting after an especially wild night out. But the kicker is, neither knows who the father could be. The plot is a whirlwind of mistaken identities, frantic cover-ups, and jaw-dropping misunderstandings, all wrapped in jokes that skate just along the edge of what the censors could tolerate. While the world was still pretending ladies didn't talk about such things, this film put it right on screen, laughing in the face of every stuffy rule. What really turned heads was Mansfield's energy. She owned every scene, keeping things light, silly, and just cheeky enough to feel dangerous. She was famous for lighting up every set she walked onto, and rumor has it she was so comfortable in her own skin, she'd stroll around between takes just to get a rise out of the crew. The press couldn't get enough, and neither could audiences. Magazines covered her every move. Even major publications ran stories about how the movie had to be trimmed before it could even play in American theaters. And if that wasn't enough, Promises didn't just stay famous because of its main star. Decades later, it's still the movie people whisper about whenever someone brings up racy old Hollywood. Sure, the plot might sound silly today, but at the time, it was a cultural earthquake. This wasn't just about pushing buttons for the sake of shock. It was about women taking charge, refusing to be the punchline, and simply having fun on their own terms. That's why Promises lands at the top of our list. It's outrageous, it's witty, and it's a time capsule from a decade that was braver than it looked. You might go in expecting a simple cruise comedy and walk away with a new respect for just how bold Hollywood could be, long before the world was ready. Barbarella, 1968. Now, if there's one film that perfectly captures the spirit of wild 60s cinema, it's Barbarella. Forget everything you thought you knew about science fiction, because this movie throws the entire genre into a kaleidoscope and shakes it until it glows. Jane Fonda, yes, the Jane Fonda, stars as the space traveler who's equal parts cosmic heroine and free spirit. Directed by Roger Vadim, this film doesn't just tiptoe over the line of what was allowed on screen, it runs across with a parade, confetti, and a wink. Set in the distant future, Barbarella is on a mission to save the universe from destruction. But it's clear from the start that this isn't your average space adventure. The world she travels is packed with floating beds, curious machines, and every kind of eccentric character you can imagine. It's a place where style matters as much as substance, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is off limits. The costume department must have had the time of their lives, and let's be honest, so did the audience. Every new planet or villain brings a fresh excuse to push the envelope and play with boundaries that other films wouldn't dare touch. What makes Barbarella so unforgettable isn't just its visuals, though they are jaw-dropping, psychedelic, and sometimes flat-out bizarre. It's the way the movie celebrates freedom and fun. Barbarella doesn't just survive wild situations, she dives in headfirst, always with a sense of humor and a sparkle in her eye. Fonda plays her not as a damsel in distress, but as a woman with agency, curiosity, and a knack for turning every challenge into an opportunity for fun. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Some called it campy nonsense. Others saw it as a revolutionary take on what a space opera could be. Over time, it gained cult status, becoming the movie everyone had to see at least once, if only to believe it was real. Barbarella didn't just influence science fiction. It changed the way people thought about the limits of cinema and who got to have all the fun in movies. Designers, musicians, and even other filmmakers have borrowed its style and spirit. If you see something wild, bold, or tongue-in-cheek in a modern movie, chances are it owes a little something to Barbarella. In the end, it's more than just a product of its time. It's a celebration of creativity and courage, wrapped in a plot that's as wild as its visuals. So if you're ready for a space journey unlike any other, filled with color, humor, and surprises at every turn, Barbarella is the film that truly defines what it meant to be outrageous in the 1960s. The Stewartesses, 1969. Buckle your seatbelt, because The Stewartesses takes Mile High to a whole new altitude. Released right at the close of the 60s, this film didn't just flirt with boundaries, it zoomed right past them at cruising speed. It opens with a simple enough premise: follow a crew of flight attendants through one riotous night in Los Angeles. But from the first frame, you can feel the filmmakers winking at the audience, promising that this won't be just another travelogue about friendly skies. What made The Stewartesses legendary wasn't its story, which, let's be honest, is just an excuse for a wild adventure, but its attitude. These aren't the flight attendants of vintage airline ads, prim, proper, and ready to serve peanuts with a smile. These women are bold, playful, and eager to taste everything the city and life has to offer. The film throws them into a world of off-duty escapades, wild parties, private get-togethers, and late-night detours that turn every layover into a madcap comedy. Every sequence is designed to upend expectations. Forget buttoned up, this film is all about letting loose and living out loud. When it hit theaters, The Stewartesses stunned critics and delighted audiences, quickly becoming the talk of college campuses and big city theaters alike. It was so daring for its era that it got a fresh cut and an adults-only rating in the early 80s, adding back in all the wild footage the censors snipped the first time. Orgy of the Dead, 1965. If you think nothing could be stranger than the usual haunted graveyard movie, wait until you step into the world of Orgy of the Dead. Directed by the infamous Ed Wood, this film isn't just a product of its era, it's in a league of its own. The plot is almost beside the point. A couple crashes their car, wanders into a cemetery, and soon finds themselves at the mercy of a ghoulish host and his vampy companion. But instead of terror and screams, what unfolds is a wild parade of dancers, each more outlandish and over the top than the last. The real star here isn't the story, it's the spectacle. The cemetery is less spooky than it is surreal, with fog machines working overtime and a rotating cast of costumed performers who are more interested in shaking things up than scaring anyone. Mummies, werewolves, and ghouls all make appearances, but this isn't Halloween for kids. It's a fever dream of 60s camp, shot through with groovy music and a sense of fun that never lets up. Ed Wood, legendary for his eccentric style and zero-budget productions, pulls out all the stops here. Every moment is designed to surprise, confuse, or make you laugh. You can't help but admire the audacity. What really sets Orgy of the Dead apart is its attitude. There's no shame, no embarrassment, just pure commitment to its own weird vision. The Love Factor, aka Zeta 1, 1969. Sometimes a film doesn't just tiptoe past the limits. It leaps across them, wearing platform boots and a mischievous grin. That's The Love Factor for you, also known as Zeta 1, a British gem that took all the primness of London and gleefully tossed it out the window. The plot? Buckle up. Imagine a secret world where a race of impossibly glamorous women from another dimension travels to Earth, not to conquer, not to invade, but to invite. These women are on a mission to liven up their world and are looking for recruits with, let's say, plenty of personality. From the first scene, it's obvious this isn't your standard sci-fi flick. The costumes are pure fantasy, all bold colors and wild designs, making every character look like they stepped out of a pop art painting. Think James Bond, but with less world-saving and way more winking at the camera. There's even a plotline that pokes fun at the whole secret agent craze of the era, complete with a tongue-in-cheek villain, dashing heroes, and more wild gadgets than you can count. But at the heart of it all is an attitude that just refuses to take anything too seriously. The Love Factor is packed with wild parties, goofy chase scenes, and a sense of humor that constantly calls out the absurdity of its own story. Beach Party, 1963. If you think sun, surf, and sand always meant safe family fun, Beach Party is here to change your mind. This movie single-handedly launched a tidal wave of imitators, but none matched the original for its perfect blend of winking humor, sly innuendo, and go-go spirit. The story? Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello lead a crew of California dreamers through a summer that's all bonfires by night, waves by day, and more secret crushes and mischief than a whole season of reality TV. What made Beach Party a sensation wasn't just the catchy surf rock soundtrack, though there are more toe-tapping tunes than you can count. It's the way the movie managed to keep one foot in wholesome territory while slyly nodding to all the real reasons teens flock to the shore. There's romance, rivalry, and more than a few moments where the grown-ups on screen seem blissfully unaware of what's really going on. The filmmakers knew exactly what they were doing, using playful jokes and a never-ending parade of dance numbers to cover for the fact that these kids were way more interested in each other than the sandcastles. At the time, some critics rolled their eyes, but audiences couldn't get enough. The movie was an instant smash, launching an entire genre of beach movies that would try to outdo each other with more jokes, more music, and more double takes. But none could capture the easy charm and knowing wink of Beach Party. It's a film that feels innocent on the surface, but the closer you watch, the more you realize it's been thumbing its nose at the censors the entire time. Decades later, Beach Party is still a pop culture touchstone. It's been spoofed, copied, and endlessly referenced, but nothing beats the original for pure, cheeky fun. If you want to see just how much trouble you can cause with a surfboard and a smile, this is the movie to watch. Sunburn not included. Tonight for Sure, 1962. You probably know Francis Ford Coppola as the genius behind The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, but what if I told you his directorial debut was a wild, no-rules romp through the glittering underbelly of Las Vegas? Enter Tonight for Sure, the film that proved even cinema's future legends had to start somewhere, and sometimes they started in places no one expected. The story kicks off with two cowboy buddies who find themselves inside a burlesque theater on the Vegas Strip. But these aren't just spectators. They're plotting to sabotage the joint. As the night drags on, their courage wavers and they down drink after drink, telling tall tales about their wildest dreams. Each story cues up a new act on stage, and the film quickly morphs into a freewheeling review of dance numbers, over-the-top costumes, and cheeky comedy. What makes this movie stand out isn't just its unexpected pedigree. Coppola's first film might not look anything like his later masterpieces, but you can spot flashes of his creative daring in the playful editing, the dreamlike transitions, and the way the movie keeps you off balance. While the plot is loose, let's be honest, it's little more than an excuse for non-stop antics. There's a gleeful energy here that's impossible to fake. Even the most buttoned-up audience member can't help but crack a smile as the heroes bumble through the night, caught between mischief and awe at the spectacle around them. At the time, this kind of movie was called a nudie cutie, a subgenre where the jokes were broad, the costumes got wilder by the minute, and nobody took anything too seriously. Tonight for Sure isn't about pushing a message or reinventing comedy. It's about the pure, goofy fun of living in the moment and not worrying who's watching. Some Like It Hot, 1959, honorary 60s pick. Okay, so Some Like It Hot technically landed just before the 60s kicked off, but let's be real, its impact rolled through the decade like a tidal wave. No list of daring, boundary-breaking comedies is complete without it. This film didn't just push buttons, it built a brand new panel and dared Hollywood to flip every single switch. The premise is legendary. Two jazz musicians, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, accidentally witness a crime and, desperate to escape the mob, disguise themselves as women and join an all-female band. Enter Marilyn Monroe at the absolute peak of her screen charm as Sugar Cane. Suddenly, the film is a runaway train of mistaken identities, razor-sharp banter, and scenes so loaded with double meaning you can practically see the censors sweating. What set Some Like It Hot apart, and what still makes it a jaw-dropper today, is its fearlessness. The script is a fast-talking, wink-filled masterpiece that keeps the jokes flying at a pace few films have matched since. The cross-dressing gags are just the beginning. This movie goes for broke on every taboo of its time, poking fun at romance, gender, and social norms. And at the center of it all is Marilyn, combining innocence and confidence in a way that made audiences both swoon and laugh out loud. The cultural shockwaves from Some Like It Hot were immediate. Critics couldn't stop talking about it. Parents whispered warnings about its naughty humor, and teenagers rushed to theaters to see what all the fuss was about. It won awards, launched catchphrases, and became the gold standard for comedy with an edge. Today, it's recognized as one of the greatest comedies ever made. But don't forget, it got there by breaking almost every rule in the book. In many ways, Some Like It Hot was the match that lit the fire for the bolder, wilder comedies of the 60s. If you want to see where cinematic mischief truly began, this is your starting line. The Notorious Cleopatra, 1964. Some films set out to make history. Others decide to toss history out the window and have a blast doing it. The Notorious Cleopatra is a prime example of the latter. This wild reimagining of the ancient queen's saga isn't interested in sand-swept battles or stuffy drama. Instead, it takes the world's most infamous seductress and drops her into a colorful, over-the-top, and downright cheeky adventure that's equal parts spoof and celebration. The story? Cleopatra isn't ruling Egypt with an iron fist. She's outsmarting, outmaneuvering, and out-charming every Roman rival and would-be conqueror in her path. The cast brings outrageous energy to every moment, with leading Lady Julie Newmar, yes, the future Catwoman herself, playing the queen as quick-witted, endlessly resourceful, and always 2 steps ahead. She's surrounded by a supporting cast that seems determined to turn every ancient court scene into a comedy club, with clever wordplay and double takes that would make even modern sitcom writers jealous. But what really makes the Notorious Cleopatra unforgettable is its willingness to play with audience expectations. There's more costume drama than actual drama, and every toga seems designed for a grand entrance or a grand punchline. The film's sets are a pop art fever dream, and the script is packed with nods to contemporary 60s culture, making it clear that history for this movie is just a jumping-off point for fun. Censors at the time tried to keep up with the film's winks and nudges, but audiences didn't mind. The movie developed a cult following among those who loved its blend of history, comedy, and pure 60s excess. Over time, it's become a go-to reference for movie buffs who appreciate cinema that never takes itself too seriously. If you want a Cleopatra who conquers with charisma instead of armies, The Notorious Cleopatra is a must-watch. It's proof that sometimes the most memorable stories are the ones that rewrite the rules, one playful scene at a time. Fanny Hill, 1964. No list of 60s boundary pushers would be complete without Fanny Hill, the film that transformed an 18th century literary classic into a gleefully impish big-screen adventure. This adaptation, directed by the ever-daring Russ Meyer, takes the risque spirit of the source material and dials it up with colorful sets, playful performances, and a storyline that keeps winking at the audience. Fanny Hill follows a naive country girl who heads to the city and finds herself swept into a world where innocence is in short supply and adventure is around every corner. What could have been a staid period piece instead becomes a carousel of mishaps, misunderstandings, and unexpected friendships. The cast is bursting with charm. Each character seems to know they're in on a grand joke, and the film never loses its sense of fun. Every mishap is a chance for more playful twists, with Fanny's wide-eyed wonder guiding the audience through a maze of high society silliness and sly innuendo. Of course, the movie's daring tone didn't sit well with everyone. Some critics bristled, and censors tried their best to keep up. But audiences responded in droves, drawn to its breezy irreverence and sharp wit. Over the years, Fanny Hill has become a favorite of movie buffs looking for something outside the usual studio fare. Its sense of mischief, combined with period trappings, make it a standout entry on this list, a testament to the 60s knack for blending tradition with the unexpected. If you're looking for a film that proves classic doesn't have to mean boring, Fanny Hill is the one to see. It's naughty, it's knowing, and above all, it's a celebration of letting your curiosity and your sense of humor run wild. So there you have it, the wildest, most daring films the 60s ever produced. These movies didn't just bend the rules, they tossed them out for good and invited everyone along for the ride. Which of these shocked you the most? Did we leave out your favorite outrageous classic? Drop your picks in the comments, share this with a fellow film fanatic, and hit subscribe for more journeys into cinema's wildest corners. Stay curious and never stop rewinding.